welcome everyone, welcome to our YouTube channels. I'm Kat from Fit Strong Free, and this is Luz Castro. She's a holistic counsellor and hypnotherapist, and me and Luz go back quite a long way, and we recently reconnected, and we thought, why not just do a YouTube video together? And I feel like we've kind of lost touch for a while, and we've kind of come back together and realized that we're on the same wavelength with quite a few things, especially now with what's happening in this day and age. So we thought we'd connect. So do you want to say hi, Luz?
Hi Kat, and hi everyone. By the way, thanks for inviting me to have this chat. And it's really nice to be able to reconnect again. And like you said, especially during this time when there is so much going on. And I think it's extremely important to really keep in touch with those that, not necessarily that think in the same way as you, but perhaps that are open, that are a bit more open to different ways of thinking and perceiving things. So that's essential to keep our sanity at the moment, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I find like having people around me that I can just talk openly with, and our opinions don't have to always be the same, but just being able to have these conversations, I feel is like imperative just to keep us sane, because every day there's so much uncertainty in this world, and like we're always just pumped with like fear, I guess, constantly, and then told to do this and do that, and then the next week it's something else. So yeah, it's good to just ground ourselves and just have these normal, real day-to-day conversations with people that can help.
And would you like to perhaps say which sort of things are we going to be talking about?
Yeah,
or would you rather do that?
Well, yeah, we're going to kind of outline a few topics, let's say, but we're also just going to go with the flow and see. Obviously, it's an organic conversation. We'll see where it flows, but we're going to start with just talking about the fear and how our bodies respond to fear and stress as a response, and how that can affect our immune systems. And then we're talking about a little bit about like just going within, trusting our intuition a little bit more, because I find we have so many things externally that are going on, and we often just forget to just take a deep breath, or take a few deep breaths and take a few moments to just go within. So I find that's really important. And also just like balancing out our energies, the masculine and the feminine that are going on right now, because I didn't know what the masculine and feminine energies were like a few months ago. I didn't really know in depth too much about them, and I found that being aware of these, I've managed to kind of balance them out and get more of one, because I was more dominant in one than the other, and I feel more balanced as a human being. So yeah, and then we're going to end on a high note, definitely. So yeah, we'll take it from the beginning. So let's talk about where we're at right now in this world, and the fear that's going on. We're not going to get too political about it. We're just going to kind of take a step back and see it from a human perspective. So do you want to start off by kind of telling us your experiences of how you've worked with people that are in the fear response and stressed?
Yes, definitely. So, and I think when you said about we are going to try not to be too political about it, because that could be a really long conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to be touching some of the kind of main points at the moment for today's our chat today. So in terms of the people that I work with, so part of being a holistic counselor and hypnotherapist, I also work as a senior wellbeing advisor for a mental health charity, and is without no doubt a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty currently. But I have to say as well that in the beginning, there was a lot of fear due to, to the virus. People don't know what is this virus. They don't know how harmful it is. They're hearing the news that, and through the news, obviously, it seems to be quite dangerous and harmful. So everyone was with a lot of fear. But I feel that the fear now has shifted from being scared of catching the virus and therefore, dying or being extremely ill, to more sort of feeling uncertain and feeling that kind of people feeling that they are sort of in a limbo, not knowing what to do next or even what to think. Because there are so many contradictions. But definitely has had a huge impact on people's mental health. And actually, quite interesting is that in the beginning of the pandemic, and when the restrictions started, quite a lot of people, they were actually, especially the ones that already suffered from mental health issues, for them, it was actually kind of comfortable in a way that, and that was quite interesting to also observe. It was comfortable in a way that they were told to just be home and to isolate and not to do anything. So for them, it was quite comfortable because they felt that they no longer had to deal with the day hustle and bustle of life. They didn't have to pretend that they were fine and going on their day-to-day life, going to work and doing their day-to-day tasks, pretending that that's what people we mainly do when we are perhaps not feeling not too well emotionally, mentally. We just kind of put a mask on.
Definitely.
It's quite hard to explain our deepest emotions and our thoughts. So they felt that they didn't need to do that anymore. They could just retreat at home and hide from everyone else. So there was a lot of kind of just feeling like, oh, this is actually good. I don't have to deal with society and being an active member of society.
Yeah.
However, after the initial time went on, the initial lockdown, after a month, 2 months, people are just like, you know what, actually, this is not the solution. I actually want to get myself better. But then now the services are closed. I'm not able to actually engage with the services that I need to engage to get myself better. And then also, not only their mental health deteriorated because they were not able to access the services that they need to access, but also the ones that now they didn't have health issues, mental health issues before, but now they start having mental health issues. First, it could be one of the reasons could be maybe because obviously there could be that there are already some underlying emotional issues, but that people we sometimes we just suppress these feelings. We carry on with our life, pretend everything is okay. We carry on about going to work, doing our thing, and not actually really paying attention with, are we feeling? Are we actually okay? Are we happy? So I was just telling people I had all this time in their hands, and then obviously a lot of time to think and to be on their own with their own thoughts. And then it was just like, oh my God, actually I need to change. I'm not happy about this and that. So that was quite interesting to observe. I hope I didn't go off tangent, but I think that
No, I think you've made some really valid points there. I think, first of all, the people that do have this anxiety in the first place, and then seeing that they have to lock down, that's a perfect excuse to not push themselves and be out of their comfort zones and just literally hermit away and hibernate in the winter time. And it was, people then, obviously, after time, like you were explaining, after time, people come to realize, actually, we're going to be locked down for longer and a little bit longer and then longer. And I find, depression has gone up through the roof. Young people, there was a report that said, it was something like 66% of young people saw no hope in their future. It was really high, and it just really saddened me. People have really stopped they put a complete stop on their dreams for the future. So that's where, anxiety's hit an even higher point in our society, in the younger generations, which again breaks my heart because they're the future. And this should be the best time of their lives, whereas it's all obviously been put on hold. There's nothing we can do about it. But then flipping it into a positive, I do find that now is the perfect time to just go completely within.
Mm,
And I've skipped a bit ahead, but I think now in our
mm,
conversation, but I think now is a good
mm,
time to chime in,
mm,
because really, like, that's what I've been doing in the past few months. Like,
mm,
I've almost like
mm.
gotten to know myself more this year than I ever have before, and
Wow.
I know who I am and I know what I stand for more than ever, and that has given me the biggest conviction in myself,
Mm,
in enabling me to move forwards. Yes, I feel like I've got no freedoms, you know,
mm.
externally, but internally I've created a kind of freedom,
Can I
which
ask you, can I
mm,
just ask you something quickly? Do you think that might have increased your self-esteem and confidence?
during this time.
Yes, kind of going within and knowing yourself.
100%,
Mm, mm,
definitely. Because I've also come to a realization that, external influences and external things, think we're always seeking
mm,
approval, seeking
mm,
seeking something to say you're fine or you're
mm,
this, that, and the other from external sources. But really, as long as you approve it yourself, then
mm,
nothing else from the external can stop you. And that comes from self-love as well, and just loving yourself like unconditionally. So, and
mm.
especially, being able to love other people unconditionally, you have to do so for yourself first and
Definitely.
foremost.
Yeah.
And like, really, everyone is a reflection of you, and I've known that for a long time, but really this year, like,
You
see,
experienced that.
yeah, so much more. Have you found that, have you been doing a bit more like inner work this year?
Um,
I
to
guess
be
you could say.
honest, I think my inner work kind of started a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Even though obviously I think inner work is something that is continuous, isn't it?
Always.
You're always
Yeah.
doing some inner work. Um, but I do think, and that happened perhaps, I would say, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, don't really know how many years, but
Mhm.
after a very difficult breakup, and that kind of started. To be honest, I don't really feel I did that much inner work. However, what I do feel is that what I've done before in terms of inner work and mindfulness and meditation, it really helped me now to actually enjoy this moment as much as I can. Just because, if I could compare, if it was from the old Luz, I would be really unsettled and I would be really struggling with just being indoors and not doing anything
Yeah.
because I would, be looking for things to distract myself, not to kind of paying attention to whatever goes on within me. So that will be a huge struggle.
Yeah.
But now I was actually able to just like, okay, I'm okay, I'm fine. Don't really need that much interaction with people, even though I do enjoy it. But I don't really need it. I'm okay just being with myself. So that was a kind of a realization, like, oh wow, I actually it changed a lot.
Wow.
That was quite nice. Yeah.
That is cool. And do you find that you're more, again, like, are you more kind of just self-assured with who you are as Luz?
Yes, definitely. And I kind of actually just realized that as you were telling me about you and your journey just now, because as you were talking, you really sounded like really confident and someone with, with the positive and healthy self-esteem.
Mhm.
And as you were talking, I realized, oh, actually, yeah, my confidence actually did improve and my self-esteem when I kind of found or discovered myself a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the really the positives, and I mean it's
Amazing.
always all of it is positive, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Benefits of
definitely.
it, yeah.
That's what I think. We've
Mm,
been forced to, obviously with all this negativity that's been going on, it's been
mm,
quite a dark year. We have to
mm,
flip it into a positive. Otherwise,
mm,
people have said to me, oh, the whole year's been wasted. I don't see it as a waste at all. I feel like it's all meant to have happened as it should. It's
mm,
perfectly divine timing.
Yeah.
It happened not for us, not to us,
Mm.
sorry, but for us. And you know, life's all about, you know, 10% of what happens to you, but 90% of how we react to it. So that is a massive kind of awareness of, you know, how we can just flip the script in our heads and react to it in a different way, and choose to just, you know, find people, especially around you, that can support you as well. I know, like you were saying, you know, you've been more alone this year, but I do find that having people around you as well, that has really helped me. I don't think I could have done it if I was completely on my own and didn't have that contact with people. But I know, you know, you have people that you can talk to, but like we were saying in another conversation, like a lot of my family members kind of think like me, and that has really helped me. And for you, I know you've got a few friends that kind of see life like you do.
Yes, and actually, you know, it made me realize as well, actually, if I was totally alone, just myself, maybe, I actually have to be honest, maybe it will be difficult. But I did have my partner with me. However, he's still working. So I am working from home, but he's working, so he's going out. So I'm pretty much on my own during the day. I'm fine with that. But I do obviously understand that, you know, obviously having someone with you during this period of time is important, no matter how well you feel. Spending time with yourself is important for your own sanity, for mental health. And yes, I mean, I've just been keeping in touch with friends through Zoom and WhatsApp. Not that much, to be honest. But that kind of helps as well, especially when you know so many crazy stuff going on. And I am someone that I do like to look into different perspectives, and I question things, and that sometimes can be a problem. I think it can be a problem for yourself as well as for other people. Some people, they don't like when people question things. So I guess in that sense, sometimes it can feel quite lonely. Even though, you know, I do have friends, thankfully, that they are on the same page. My partner as well in some way. But yeah, I mean that in that instance, it can feel quite lonely. Sometimes you can be surrounded by people, but if they don't think the same way as you, or at least don't try and meet you midway, or trying to at least, like I said in the beginning, you know, have a open conversation, then it can make you feel really lonely, isn't it?
It can do. And like, I guess as a advice for other people, would you have any kind of advice of, like, you know, if you were completely on your own and you didn't have anyone that kind of resonated with you, and you just found it difficult to have those conversations with people, like, what is the best thing to do, really, apart from going inwards, doing all that like work within?
Of course.
What else do you think?
I mean, from my perspective, and that's kind of I'm seeing from previous times when I perhaps face the same situation, difficult situation, one of the first things that we start doing is doubting ourselves. We start doubting ourselves, thinking, oh, maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am the one that, you know, I'm thinking a different way. Everyone seems to be fine, and everyone seems to be going along in life just well, and I am just like the oddball. So the first thing is actually to not doubt yourself. We are all different. Again, we are all different, and we all of us, we have got our value. No matter which way we think, we all have got something to add on to these roles. And thinking a different way is actually really important, because the odd ones, the oddballs, they were the ones who actually changed the roles,
100%.
isn't it? Is it not true? And most of them, they were actually expelled from school, expelled from college. They were ridiculed. You know, it was never easy. I mean, even like spiritual masters, I'm not saying I'm a spiritual master, hold on. But, you know, everyone, from spiritual masters, from artists, from politicians, that people that actually changed the world, they were the oddballs. So that's the first thing, to not doubt yourself. And the second thing is that perhaps you do feel lonely and you do feel isolated, that there is no one else that thinks the way you do. But I assure you that there is. And gladly with the internet nowadays, you can actually find these groups. You can go online and you can look for these groups and you can join these groups. And even if you cannot communicate with them in person, but you can start interacting with them through these groups. So I think these are the two things I can think on top of my head that could help, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. I mean, obviously we can't go and meet these people physically, but we're going to have to find them online, aren't we? And there are so many groups and so many amazing people and so much amazing information out there. And, you know, I know we were going to kind of touch on like censorship, bit of a touchy subject, but there's a lot of truth seekers out there, and
oh, yes, we have to be very careful because I might end up being censored.
Yeah, I don't want that either. No. I mean, all I'm going to say is there is a lot of amazing information out there, but just go with whatever feels right within your heart. Like, honestly, just trust your instinct and your intuition. And what I would say to people is literally just go with what resonates to you. Because like obviously you don't want to be forcing an opinion in your mind about something if it doesn't resonate, and then it's not in harmony with you, and then it might cause some kind of incoherence in your body, which can then turn into something else. So it's all about just finding your people, finding the right people for you. But honestly, there's so much information out there that is so valuable to people, and it's amazing how it's all free, available anytime you like, and by a click of a button. So I think if you are feeling low, or you know you need anything in particular, just reach out to people online and start to just watch these things. And
definitely, you can even reach out to us as well.
Yeah.
And join our conversations. Why not?
I love chatting to people and trying to help them. And you know, I think me and you, we work with clients all the time, and we're always we're in service to people, aren't we? And you know, my purpose is to help people, and obviously it's physically but also mentally as well, and I like to say spiritually as well. That's why I'm a little bit different to the regular personal trainer that just does the whole physical stuff. I think there's so much more to health, and I try to make it more holistic as well. And I tell my clients as well, just like, also when you're on this journey, learn to love yourself and love your body as well, and don't do it from like you know, from hating your body. Don't feel like you have to punish yourself through a workout because you hate your body. Do it because you love your body and you want to feed your body good foods and all the rest of it. Come at it from a love perspective and not hate. Just other things in life.
Do you mind if I ask you something about your work?
Yeah.
So when you because obviously you work with people and it's more in terms at the moment, sort of in terms of their physical conditioning, obviously that also includes well-being, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you tackle with the ones, I guess, the ones that are open to it, the more spiritual side of it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you see sort of any kind of differences in the people that you work with? Are they more motivated in terms of their well-being? How do you feel? What's your sense in general, the overall sense you get from people and the engagement with you?
Well, I'd start with saying, obviously, everyone is different. There are people, and I tend to attract these clients that are more well-being orientated.
Oh, that's good.
We have amazing conversations during our sessions, and you know, like I'm really into my essential oils, and I'm against like I don't take paracetamol if I have a headache. Like I rarely get ill, but I find it's all in the mind. If you have a strong mind, you're not going to get ill. And that is that. And I just think you have to be assured of that. And so with my clients, I try and instill that into them, you know, mind over matter. One thing I get them to do at the end of every session is to do a plank hold. And no matter what, and I've got this like chart of, you know, their times and what they've all gone through. And like, honestly, like when you go through just that alone, you see the growth of the time that they can plank. But I see that as their mindset as well, their mind just strengthening every session, getting bigger and bigger and longer. And so I just try and instill that into them. And, you know, while we're talking, I just say, you know, you know, we talk about food and I say, what have you eaten? And they may have eaten like these diet foods and whatnot, you know, which a lot of people push onto the fitness industry and the health industry, which are just not natural. So I find my clients like to eat more naturally, and I say to them, just try and eat whole foods, one ingredient foods, literally, because that is the stuff that's going to literally build the cells in your body and make them a lot healthier. So yeah, I find over time their mindsets do change, and my goal is like not for them to train with me forever. I want them to go off and flourish and just have all the tools that they need and the mindset that they need in order to just like just flourish in life and just be able to enjoy the exercise and not see it as, you know, oh, something they have to do, and do it because of a feel good factor rather than, oh, I have to lose like 10 pounds or no, I can't stand all of that, to be honest. It's just not the way I'm wired, but you know. And like it's funny because I've been a PT for nearly 10 years now, and I've never had a six pack, like a real six pack, and I just think for me that's not realistic to the life I want.
It's not the goal, is it?
No, it's never been my goal. So if people want to get a six pack, go to, I don't know, I can help you get one, but you have to really be driven to do it because you have to compromise so much of your life. And again, it's like your comforts and just things that you enjoy and your lifestyle, and just for this one goal. And I just, when I balance out, you know, should you do it or not, I just do not see the point at all. I just think be healthy, live your life, healthy mind, and that's it.
That's a good point. And I guess as well, maybe because some people seeing that is going to increase their self-esteem and confidence if they have got that six pack.
Yeah.
And actually it's not really, you know, like you say, it starts in your mind, really comes from your mind before anything else.
Definitely. And I find like I focus a lot on strength training and resistance training. And as a woman especially, I feel like we need to basically grow muscle first of all. It doesn't matter if you've got a bit of fat around you, it's okay. But I just think the empowerment that comes from strength training in particular, and being able to do a press up on your toes and just stuff with your body that you didn't think you could do. That in itself is the gift of the whole thing. And it's beautiful when you do see clients that just break through these kind of physical barriers that they didn't think they could. And just do it that way by, you know, see what your body can do rather than the lack of what it can't do, you know. So
I feel like exercising now. What we do every day. You have to always chat in the morning.
Yeah, everyone's got their different routines, and you know, even like, we all go through slumps as well. I've said to my clients recently, it's been Christmas time. I haven't as much as I do normally, and like I said to them, I feel a bit fluffy, like you know, because you can't always be 100%. And as a personal trainer, I do feel like pressure to, you know, uphold a certain standard. Actually, I'm human. I'm not gonna lie to them, and I'm not gonna say, oh, you know, I didn't eat any carbs, and you know, no, I ate all the carbs, and I really enjoyed them. So yeah, I mean, just want to take it back then, Luz, to it's like your intuition and just trusting yourself and trusting that you're on the right kind of track. So I guess that goes a little bit hand in hand with what we've been talking about, but more just like not doing something from lack, and then and doing something from what you can kind of see this beautiful kind of thing forming. I hope I'm making sense here. But going into like trusting your intuition. So for me, I'll just start by saying like this year it's been a massive step for me in terms of trusting myself. And I've always struggled with just fully trusting myself, and like what I was saying before, never being ripped as a personal trainer. Like, will people trust me as a personal trainer? So I just want to talk a little bit about like intuition here, and going really into what you think is right for you and maybe your clients as well. So how would you say, let's start? what's the right question here? Like, how do you guide yourself through your intuition and
So, it's really hard to access your intuition when you feel low, when you feel stressed, when you feel anxious. And that's because, you are in a sort of a low vibration state. But that, when I say low vibration state, some people think that's kind of woo woo woo. But it's actually, your brain is actually true. Your brain, when you are thinking negative thoughts, when you are worried, when you are anxious, your brain patterns actually, they lower down. So our brain have got different patterns. I can't remember now each name, but it's like beta, omega, whatever, alpha. So when you are in that state, it's a kind of low thinking state, low pattern, low frequency, and it's actually difficult to think clearly. So it's the same way spiritually. When we are in that state, it's really hard to connect. To connect with sort of, let's say, the universal wisdom, or even our inner wisdom as well.
Yeah.
So before anything, it's really trying to calm ourselves down and trying to bring us to a more sort of stable mode mentally, especially mentally as well, because it's connected. Our spirit, our body is all connected. There is no separation. So whatever goes in our mind affects our spirit, which you probably know. And probably, I guess most of the people that are watching these, they probably know that as well by now. So our intuition really, unless we are in that, we are not in that state, which is a more stable state, it's very difficult. I would even say impossible to access that. So when I am in that state, which happened, during the pandemic, again, not because of the virus, to be honest, and I do believe, like you said, that mind over matter, mind really is key in our health, in our well-being. But then, I totally understand. I'm not in the high risk. I'm not a vulnerable person. So I do understand, someone is vulnerable and is in high risk. It's understandable if they still feel fear and anxious, So I actually forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yes, but what I'm trying to say. So I was in that state when the pandemic started, the lockdown, and again, not because of the virus, but because of things that I was saying that it was totally wrong against with what I think, and also seeing a lot of discrepancy between some data being shown to the public, discrepancy between things that were said, and a lot of misinformation, again, censorship as well. So I was really worried, and it was really hard to connect with my intuition. So what I did, I was like, okay, I need to actually disconnect from all of this. Not helping me. Disconnect from social media, disconnect from the news, just trying to get myself to a state of where I feel kind of forget about it for a while. And then after I did that, I was actually able to meditate, connect again with my guides and everything. And the answer that came to me was very clear. I actually did a meditation and it was very clear. I just had this feeling like, trust the process, and like you were saying before, you did touch into that before. I can't remember the exact words you used, but you were saying something like, we have to trust. So that was the thing that came to me, trust the process. And there is a very interesting saying, Portuguese saying, I don't know if you have got the same here in England, which says, God writes right in twisted lines. So saying that God writes right in twisted lines. Does it make sense? I don't know if it makes sense in English. So it means that, when you're writing in a notepad and it's got the lines, so you have to kind of follow the lines when you're writing it. So you don't go people can actually understand what you're writing.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to follow those two lines. So you're writing in between. So the saying is that God writes, he can still write right in twisted lines. So even though he feels that there is a chaos, and but there is intelligence governing it all. And I do believe that the outcome will be positive.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't look like through our eyes that things are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I do believe, because, you know, the universe is chaotic. And I guess the Big Bang as well, when it started, was chaotic, isn't it? And that's what happened with every change, every big change in our history. There is a chaotic moment, and then things kind of realign themselves.
Definitely.
So, you know, so that was the answer I had. And I would, the suggestion I would give is to people to really, if they feel really anxious, if they feel in a heightened state of fear, to try and disconnect from whatever is creating that anxiety and that fear, to try to do things that makes them relax. And after they do that, to then try and connect with their guides or connect with themselves, or, you know, if they are religious, to connect with their spiritual guide, whatever it is that helps them connect with that intuition.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think that also just comes from trusting that there's a higher power of some sort, whatever you believe in. You don't have to be religious. It's just a spiritual thing that we can't see, but something that is going to just bring everything together, and everything will be fine. And just trust that everything will be okay. And in the meantime, just work on your own stuff and just like you say, connect with your guides and whoever it is again that you believe in, and just do the work and do the things that resonate with you. And whether it means like disconnecting, getting off social media, which we all know can be so toxic. And, you know, we might be in a great mood one minute, we scroll down social media, and then something triggers us, and we just it completely changes our aura, and it's just it messes with our head so much. So you kind of need to disconnect to reconnect with yourself, I'd say. But I've spoken to, literally like earlier today, I spoke to somebody about this, because she was saying, you know, social media is just making her so depressed right now, and there's so much going on, and it's just she was just in a, you know, in a really bad way. So I said, don't go on it. You don't have to go on it. And like you were saying, you haven't really been on it too much. And like for me, like Instagram, I always have had a hate relationship with it. I felt like I've had to be on it, and there are times where I would post every day because I felt like I had to. All the other personal trainers are doing it, but I've decided I don't like it. Then why am I going to go on it? I'm not going to force it. It's not coherent with what I want. So just do whatever you want, basically. Trust yourself.
I think
and do what you want.
I think it's hard for businesses to be away from social media. And it's also hard sometimes because you do feel that, especially the times we are in, we do feel that we need to keep up to date to whatever is going on.
Yeah.
But in reality, actually, you can stay up from the news. You go back there 2 weeks later and it's still the same kind of sort of news, really. Sometimes even, I would even say years. I would even go longer and say years.
You know what? News
it's pretty much the same. Just the characters, they change the characters, but it's pretty much the same kind of news. So I don't really think we're going to lose that much.
Definitely not. And I find like news is there. I feel like it's there to put us in a low vibration. And that's what I've experienced it time and time again. Every time I put the news on, low vibration mood, and they say never watch the news while you're eating dinner, because when you're eating, you want your whole aura and your system to be in a positive frame of mind, or just positive way. And when you eat and you're in a low negative like state of mind, it doesn't serve your body in any way. You're going to digest that food, but not in the right way. You might get indigestion, or I don't know, you might overeat, or it might just cause harm to your body in some way. So try to avoid news, especially at dinner time, especially. And it's ironic, news is always on when people are eating their dinner at that time. So you just have to think like, why? But again, that's going into,
that's a really good point, actually.
But I've been more mindful.
That's a really good point.
Recently, and just avoided that. watch comedy, watch something that's going to make you laugh and put you in a high vibration instead. And then you'll just enjoy that meal a lot more. A meal that you spent a while cooking as well, no doubt, or some people. So yeah, you just want to enjoy that. So, Luz, let's
can I just add something to that as well? And is that, I do think that our own vibration, our own energy adds on to the collective.
100%.
So one of the best things we can do now is definitely looking after our own energy, our own well-being, because we do not want to add up to the craziness in the world. So that's the best way to do it, to just retract from that and just be like, you know what, I'm going to be just watching comedy for now.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah.
And like, as you know, we've gone into the age of Aquarius now from the 21st of December, and that is the age of awakening and the Great Awakening. And we have to, as a collective, all manifest this age of awakening and a higher vibration. They also say we're going from 3-dimensional to 5-dimensional, which is this state of pure love and literally like broadening our energy fields and rising above the crap that's going on in the world, and just living in a vibration again of a higher state of love and just thriving as human beings. And part of that is being a collective. It's going to be more of a collective consciousness. It's going to be, although there's so many people trying to break down things in the world, part of our task now being on this earth is to come together as collectives and create things using these technologies and using our brains and the higher vibrational state to create beautiful things and send the world into that 5D consciousness. And I believe it's going to happen, definitely. And again, I don't talk about this stuff with my clients because it sounds really woo-woo and they're just like, what the hell is Kat going on about? But like, I feel it, and I can't deny that, and other people feel it too, and it's happening. We're already starting to manifest it, and we all know that, life is a reflection of how we create it. It's how we create reality. So we all as a collective need to create this beautiful,
it's really important
world in this age of Aquarius that has taken what was it like, was it every 28,000 years or something?
Yeah, I heard 26,000. I might be wrong.
I think it's definitely something like that. So we're now living in this moment, like we are lucky to be alive in this moment right now. We've just come,
even though it doesn't feel like it.
I know it doesn't, it really doesn't, but again, it's flipping it on its head. We've come from age of Pisces, which has been like a very low vibrational state. Age of Aquarius, like I'm an Aquarius myself, and
are you?
I think I'm extra excited because of it. I think, but I feel it, and I just I feel like we're heading into a better world, but it might take a while. Some people are saying like 2024 is when like
I do feel it might take a while. Yes, I do feel that still.
I think we have to be
work to be done.
Definitely there's work, but that's why we all have to just heighten our vibrations and like be in this better energy. But yeah, talking of energies, Luz, I just want to touch on like balancing out the masculine and feminine energies, and I don't know what kind of experience you've had with that in terms of like, with your life, and how have you realized, you've been more in one than the other, or
so that's a really good question. Just don't know where to start from.
Maybe
but it's such a wide subject, isn't it?
It's probably best like just introducing what each one is. Like from my perspective, the masculine energy is very much like the doing, the actions that you have to take, the need to provide, get money, creating a business, things like that. Whereas the feminine energy is all about creativity, following your intuition, again, being more nurturing, and mainly creativity really comes to mind. Mother Nature as well, that kind of stuff. So it's quite a hard question
exactly
to kind of answer, but do your best.
So yes, I mean the definition you just gave is I think it's spot on really. We could add more things, but like with everything else. But yes, it's about feminine. Is about the sensitive, being a bit more sensitive, being more in touch with your emotions, being a more, I would say, is more sort of an air element, more creativity, like you were saying, and then the masculine energy is more like a heart, more grounding element. So I will just tell you a little bit about my journey with the masculine and feminine energy. So I do feel I'm not sure. Now you ask me, I'm actually not sure whether I was more in my masculine energy or my feminine energy. I think I had both. However, there were aspects in my feminine energy, my feminine self, that were kind of suppressed. And I think that was just sort of a reflection of society, really. So a few years ago, I started going to women's circles. And to start with, when I was invited to one, I just thought, what, women's circle? What is this about? Eating chocolate and talking about men, you know? Not interested. That was my thinking. I'm not interested. You know, I associated with, you know, being in a group of women, gossip and talking about men and chocolate, like it's not my thing. But I went to one and I was like, wow. And just kind of the realization of, you know, that the feminine aspect in myself that were actually suppressed, again, as a reflection of society. And also because I think we as women, we've been suppressed, our feminine side has been suppressed. And sometimes we actually suppress ourselves because we feel that for us to be in a role that is run by men, in reality, is very much patriarchal. We felt that we had to act like them to be able to succeed and to be able to progress, especially career-wise, isn't it? And to stop being seen as just the mother and the caregiver, to start seeing as a let's say competitor, or someone that can also do the same as men does at work and other things as well in terms of leadership and everything. So what happened is that we then try to disassociate ourselves. Most of us, not everyone, but most of us, we thought the solution was to disassociate ourselves from everything that is connected with being a woman or feminine. Either could even be cooking, doing the house chores. It could be being sensitive, being empathic. It could be being connected with our emotions. Because again, you know, we were ridiculed by that, and we were dismissed. We got sort of a dismissive treatment because we were just seen as irrational beings in a way. So, you know, with feminism and everything, it was good for us, no doubt on that, but also created that disconnect because we then try to, instead of kind of being like, you know, I am a woman and I'm okay with it, and try to assert ourselves in that way, we instead try to be more like a man, being more sort of masculine side. So I think that's kind of one of the realizations I had. And also being okay with our body functions, like simply having a period. It's such a taboo to talk about. You know, and just the connection with your menstrual cycle and being okay with that, you know, or even breastfeeding. And I think there's been actually insurgence of that, of, you know, breastfeeding movement that, you know, why do people see it as a bad thing, or why society try to suppress that side of women, why society try to suppress the side of menstruation and just seeing it as something that is disgusting, that needs to be eaten, that cannot be talked about. So that I can see is changing.
When you think about it, it's crazy because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the menstrual cycle.
Exactly.
So it's actually, it's the most natural thing in the world, really, to have it, and to breastfeed, like to give your child everything it needs from its mother. And like you were saying, like we are living in a man's world, and I do find that this lockdown in a way has been a blessing, because the masculine side is go go go, rush rush rush. And if you think about how life was before lockdown, I was in a rush. I didn't give myself or the people around me much time, not half as much as what I give them now. And now managed to kind of slow down, and again, like you, be more in my feminine energy, and go more into the nurturing side, and feel like it's okay. I don't always have to be focused on making money and my business, because I wasn't feeling balanced. I was in a mode of stress, and I think that comes again with being in the masculine quite a lot, and the feminine needs to come in to just calm us down, and just like be more nurturing, and allow more that creativity and that natural state and flow to come into life. So like for me, I've been more creative in this time. Like I love painting, and I haven't picked up a paintbrush in years, because I have been
I didn't know actually you love painting. I used to paint as well. I haven't done it for a while, to be honest.
Yeah, it's because time and the stress of life, and being in that masculine all the time, it's like you lose your hobbies that you used to do, when you were at college, or a long time ago, but all these beautiful hobbies that you loved but you forgot about. And again, because there's so many distractions now, Netflix and everything else, like would all rather just sit in front of Netflix and for a couple of hours instead of picking up that paintbrush and doing what really feeds our souls. And I find that being in feminine is just feeding the soul as well, and giving you time, and like going out for walks in nature. Like I'm really lucky to live quite near Richmond Park, so I'm always
spending
there.
time with family as well is a very much sort of perceived as a feminine thing,
Definitely. Finding that balance, and that's why
I think
lockdown's been a blessing too.
And I think, like you said, with the lockdown, and I do think that is a resurgence of a kind of rebirth of the feminine energy coming. And I think that's what probably Aquarius is pretty much about, it, kind of balancing out the two energies, masculine and feminine, and for both of them to live more in harmony. I do think that there is also the dangers of we dismissing the masculine energy as well, which is also dangerous. And I can see, especially for men, I can see a lot of men, the new generation, or even the previous generation that are going through these times, they are a bit confused, kind of, because the idea of man has changed a lot. What is it to be a man? And things about toxic masculinity coming up, like the Me Too movement, for example, that was a big thing. And that made a lot of men rethinking, oh, so these certain things are actually wrong, you can't do these, so however, I also do feel that a lot of men now, they are in a lot of fear, because they are kind of in a way denying their own masculinity as well, because they feel like, oh, that's toxic, is wrong. But then, so like we did go through that stage as well, where we try to suppress our feminine side. I hope that is not going to happen with the men's now. Because it's also not helpful, and again is about finding that balance, isn't it?
Definitely. And men have been told to suppress their feelings, which is why there's so much men as well, and suicides. But I do find we as society, not just women, but we have to allow our men to be the man that they want to be, and whether that's expressing their emotions fully and crying on your shoulder, or acting all macho, like whatever they need to be, allow them to be that. And I think with society as well, we have so many expectations for men and women, but actually we're all just individual beings, like having a soul experience, like a human experience as a soul on the planet. So we just all need to accept a lot more, and there's so much stigma attached to pretty much everything these days, and so many labels out there. And I think where we're at right now with this like technological era, we've just cause so much confusion and chaos, and nothing anyone says is right. There's always somebody with an opinion, and
Yes,
that's where
that's
we're at,
true.
unfortunately, right now. So we need to go into an age of acceptance for all, and just allow people to be who they are, and also just like, again, like, allow men to express their emotions, like I was saying, because that's part of a problem. They feel like they have to suppress themselves. And you know, the great thing is there are so many people out there that are there to help as well. So it's like allowing them not to be afraid to reach out as well, and ask for help.
Definitely. Yeah,
For
definitely.
sure. All right, so Luz, yeah, just kind of I feel like, yeah, we'll draw it to an end, but I did end. I feel like we've already talked about this, but I wanted to end on a high and talk about, you know, like us being in a state of love and a higher vibration. So I guess my question for you is like, what can people do as a practical thing to, you know, let's say they've been watching the news, and or they've just been feeling really low, lonely, depressed. What can they do to get elevate themselves, get in a higher vibration?
So let me just tell you the importance of actually being in a loving vibration. Is our heart is actually the biggest electromagnetic field we have in our body. So I don't know if you heard about the Heart Math Institute. There is actually a website. It's really interesting. They talk about heart coherence and how that can help you balance your energetic body, but also to balance out your mind and your well-being, and how important it is. And then they actually have done many studies where they measured the heart electromagnetic fields and how we feel in different situations, and how that can affect us, our own body, our own immunity system, as well as other people. Which is even more interesting, is that our heart electromagnetic field, they have done studies and it's actually proven that can actually affect other people as well, for good. So that's really important. So things that we can do is definitely looking after ourselves, like you said, and like we've been saying throughout this conversation. Acceptance is a big thing. Accepting even our shadows, and being able to accept even the parts of ourselves that we might not be too happy about, either physically, like you were saying, emotionally, mentally, and being able to actually sit with it and look into those parts, being aware of them, looking into those parts, and being able to love those parts as well, because it's only through love that you're going to be able to break it out, whatever needs to be breaked out, and whatever you need to not discharge, but that no longer serves you and you just need to let go. You have to love that part, because if you don't learn to love that part, to accept that part, it's always going to be there as a shadow nagging you.
You're so right.
So that's the best strategy, really. You know, again, like you said, you can either do that yourself, try to do that yourself. There's a lot of content online that you can look at to, or, you know, find a therapist or a counselor, whatever it is, or buy a good book as well. Sometimes true. I mean, I've done extremely self-development just by reading amazing books. That has helped me so much, and that's given me the strength to look into those parts. So yeah, I don't know if there is anything else that I want to add, but I think those were the main ones, really. To just really to start doing the work yourself, and just being accepting and loving.
I love that. I think, yeah, you made some really
Of
good.
all those parts, because, like you said, mentioned before as well, if you want to be able to do that for other people as well. Sorry, I thought it went a bit funny. Oh yes, that's a really good. I will just tell the parable if I can remember.
Yeah.
I think because it's so important right now that we do look after those shadow parts within ourselves, because then they also represent and they contribute to the whole, to the collective. So the parable of the wolf is actually a Native American parable, where a grandpa is sitting by the fireplace with his grandson, and he's telling his grandson the parable of the two wolves. And he tells his grandson, there are two wolves within each one of us. One wolf is vengeful, is anxious, is hateful, is aggressive, and is jealous. And the other wolf is kind, is compassionate, is loving, and let's say expressive. And these two wolves, they are always in constant fight. Always. They have been, since the start of times, they have always been in a constant fight within each one of us. And then the grandson asks the grandfather, who wins, who in the end, who wins the battle? And the grandfather says, the one you feed. So, moral of story, all of us, we have got our own shadows within ourselves, the parts that we don't really like too much, and we could say they are quite negative. But then you don't go and just kill the bad wolf. You don't go and just try to suppress the bad wolf. Instead, you try and feed more of the good wolf. And by that, again, compassion, loving. But then that compassion and loving also has to go to the bad wolf.
Which is a lesson.
It makes sense. So you don't feed it, you don't become more vengeful, you don't become more hateful. You just feed off your good parts of yourself, and then you give a bit to the bad wolf, and hopefully make peace through that, in that way.
I love that.
Mm.
That's amazing. Well, great, Fabio. I love that. And what I'd like to just add to that as well is, like, you know, like you were saying, basically there's a light and a dark. Essentially, we all have light and dark within us and the world, and it's always just the polarity going on. It's always two halves, isn't there? But with the dark, that dwindles and that hides away in the light. Like, light is infinite. And love is infinite as well. It's an infinite emotion, whereas fear is a very, very, very strong emotion as well. And so is hate and anger. But love conquers all, and love is the highest of all emotions, because there's no light cannot be darkened. It just can't. So light always wins. And when you have compassion, even to yourself, to your negative side, like aspects of your personality or whatever, you have to have compassion and self-love and care, because you wouldn't say to a friend, oh, you know, to hate themselves in any way, shape or form. So why would you say it to yourself? So yeah, I just think, love is honestly just the best way to live. If you can, and you know, and if we knew everyone's story, we have nothing but love for them, even like a homeless.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I always kind of think about that when I'm going walking past somebody who's doing wrong. I'm like, okay, there must be a reason why they're doing that. Might be, you know, a deep rooted reason, but there's always a reason why people are like they are. We've had our own journeys, but yeah, at the
definitely.
Love is all. So yeah, keep the vibe high and keep spreading that love to everyone around you, I guess. And that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. It's been an amazing conversation, and I really feel quite energized.
Good.
So that's a good thing.
Me too. I've loved this. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm so grateful to you, Luz, for taking the time and coming on and just to share this this conversation with you. So we'll definitely have to do it again at some point. We'll have way more things.
Yes, definitely. It's so much more to talk about, isn't
there? So much more.
I feel like we have just started the conversation.
I know. Okay, they'll definitely be around too then, for sure.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
All right, guys. Yeah. thank you for listening, everyone. And yeah, hope you liked this. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.